Most people think buying a Liveaboard trawler means spending $200,000 or $300,000, but that is not always true. There are still classic diesel trawlers with real cabins, fly bridges, comfortable salons, and enough space to actually live aboard for under $100,000. Today, we are looking at 7 affordable trawler yachts that prove you don't need to be a millionaire to get on the water. This video is for general information and entertainment only. It is not buying financial or survey advice. Before we start, remember this. Boat prices change all the time. A boat under $100,000 can be a great deal, or it can be a very expensive project. So always get a proper marine survey. Check the engine, the fuel tanks, also the decks and the windows, and look carefully at the maintenance history. With older trawlers, condition matters more than the model name. Now, let's start with the number 7. This is one of the most interesting entry-level trawlers because it gives you that classic cruising look without the price tag of a more famous brand. It's simple, it's practical, and in many cases, it's powered by a single diesel engine. That is important because many budget boat buyers are not looking for speed. They're looking for range, comfort, and lower running costs. The older Mainship 34 diesel cruiser was built for exactly that kind of use. At slow cruising speed, this boat can be very efficient. And for someone who wants a simple first trawler, that can make a lot of sense. Inside, the layout is usually straightforward. You get a salon, a small galley, a lower helm, a forward berth, and a flybridge above. It is not the biggest boat on this list, and it is not the most luxurious, but it might be one of the easiest ways to get into trawler ownership. The big warning is age. Many of these boats are from the late 70s or early 80s, so you have to look carefully. Check for the soft decks, old wiring, old fuel tanks, engine condition, and water leaks around windows. A clean Mainship 34 can be a smart first trawler. A neglected one can become a floating repair bill. Best for someone who wants a simple, affordable, diesel-powered cruising boat. Number 6 is the Grand Banks 32 Sedan. This is one of the boats many people picture when they hear the words classic traveler. The Grand Bank 32 has the look, the thick interior, the traditional profile, the stealthy style, and the reputation. It is not a large boat, but it uses space very well. You usually get a comfortable salon, a compact galley, a four-wheeler cabin, and a flybridge. For a couple or a solo cruiser, that can be enough. The Grand Bank's name is very strong, and because of that, these boats often cost more than other travelers of the same size. But older examples can still appear under $100,000. That is why the Grand Bank 32 belongs on this list. The appeal is this simple. If you want a classic small trawler with real heritage, this is one of the icons. But there are downsides. You may pay more for the name, and older Grand Bank boats can need serious upkeep. Teak needs care, windows can leak, decks can have moisture, and old system can become expensive. So do not buy only because it say Grand Banks. Buy because the survey is good, the engine is healthy, and the boat has been maintained. Best for someone who wants the classic trawler experience in a smaller package. Number 5 is the Marine Trader 34 double cabin and closely related CHB 34 models. This boat is very important in the world of affordable trawlers. Why? Because it was built in larger numbers. And when a boat was built in larger numbers, it's easier to find information. It's easier to find owners, it's easier to compare prices, and it is easier to find one of the used market. The biggest selling point here is space. Many Marine Trader 34 double cabin boats have a forward cabin and an aft cabin. That gives you more privacy, more sleeping space, and more comfort for longer stays aboard. For the money, this boat can feel surprisingly large. It is not fast, it is not new, and it's definitely not maintenance free. But if you want maximum boat for the dollar, the Marine Trader 34 is hard to ignore. This is the kind of boat that can attract dreamers. People see the price, They see two cabins, they see a classic trawler shape, and they think, this could be my liveaboard. And maybe it can't, but be careful. A cheap traveler is not always a cheap boat, because the real cost is maintenance. Fuel tanks, decks, windows, wiring, plumbing, engine work. All of these things can cost real money. So if you find a Marine Trader 34 at a low price, do not get too excited too quickly. Get a survey. Best for someone who wants the most interior space for the lowest possible price. Number 4 is the Albin 36 Trawler. The Albin 36 is another strong choice for buyers who want a traditional trawler layout without speaking six figures. This boat is bigger than many 32 or 34-foot trawlers, and that extra size matters. It can mean more interior space, more storage, more comfort, and a better feeling for longer trips. Many Albin 36 models use single diesel power. That can be a good thing for a budget-minded buyer. One engine usually means less maintenance, less fuel burn, and simpler systems. Of course, a single engine also means docking can take more practice. But for slow coastal cruising, many people prefer the simplicity. Inside, the Albin 36 often has a warm, traditional trawler feel. Take interior, lower helm, salon, galley, and sleeping space for longer stays. It is the kind of boat that feels practical, not flashy, and that is exactly why it belongs on this list. The Albin 36 is not trying to be a luxury yacht. It is trying to be a comfortable, economical, classic racing boat. For the right buyer, this is more useful than luxury. The things to watch are familiar: moisture, old systems, deck condition, engine conditions, and general maintenance. If you find a clean one, the Albin 36 can be one of the better values in the affordable trawler market. Best for someone who wants a practical, comfortable single diesel cruiser. Number 3 is the Iceland Gypsy 32 Sedan. This boat is smaller, but it deserves attention. It gives you a classic trawler profile in a manageable size. This boat is often compared with other small traditional trawlers, and for some buyers, it can be a smart alternative to more famous names. That is one of the advantages here. The Iceland Gypsy name is respected, but it does not always carry the same price premium as Grand Banks. So sometimes you can get a very nice classic trawler feel for less money. The Iceland Gypsy 32 is best for people who don't need a huge boat. A couple, a solo cruiser, a weekend liveboard, or someone who wants a smaller boat that is easier to handle. You still get the trawler look, you still get a railed cabin, you still get useful cruising comfort. But you are not dealing with the size or cost of a much larger boat. Of course, small also means compromise. There is less storage, less living space, and less room for guests. So if you dream of full-time living aboard, you need to be honest about your space needs. But if your goal is simple cruising and classic style, the Iceland Gypsy 32 is worth knowing. Best for someone who wants a compact classic trawler without paying for a bigger boat. Number 2 is the Californian 34 LRC. This boat is a little different. It has trawler styling, but it is not always a pure slow-speed trawler. Depending on the engines, some versions can offer more speed than the traditional 7-knot cruising boats. That makes it interesting, because not every buyer wants to move slowly all the time. Some people want the trawler look, the comfortable layout, and the classic profile. But they also want the ability to move faster when conditions are right. The Californian 34 can offer that mix. It can be a good fit for coastal cruising, weekend use, and buyer who likes old school boats, but do not want to pay Grand Banks money. The design has a practical feel. It is not trying to be ultra modern. It is not trying to be flashy. It is simply a solid traditional cruiser with a trawler character. And because some examples can be found well under $100,000, it becomes very interesting for a budget buyers. But be careful with low prices. A cheaper boat may need work, sometimes a lot of work. cosmetics, engines, electronics, canvas, fuel tanks, interior updates. So with the Californian 34, the survey is everything. If you like the idea of trawler comfort with a little more speed potential, this boat is worth a closer look. Best for someone who wants trawler style but does not want to cruise slowly all the time. And number one is the Monk 36 trawler. For many budget-minded trawler buyers, the Monk 36 is one of the sweet spots. It is bigger than a 32-footer, it has a classic trawler profile, it has good liveboard potential, and it has a strong reputation among people who like traditional cruising boats. That is why it takes the number one spot. The Monk 36 gives you something important: balance. It is not the cheapest boat on this list, it is not the smallest, and it is not the fastest. But it may be one of the best all-around choices for someone who wants a real trawler lifestyle without spending several $100,000. The size makes a difference. At 36 feet, you get more room to live, more storage, more comfort, and a better feeling for extended cruising. Many Monk 36 boats have a warm, thick interior, a fly bridge, a practical salon, and enough space for a couple to spend serious time aboard. That is exactly what many buyers want. Not a showpiece, not a toy, a real boat for real cruising. Some very clean Monk 36 models, especially newer ones, can go above $100,000. But older examples can still appear below that number, and that makes the Monk 36 one of the strongest choices in the affordable trawler market. But again, do not buy the dream without checking the boat. Look at the decks, look at the tanks, all the engine. Look at the decks, at the windows, also at the wiring, at the maintenance history. A good Monk 36 can be a wonderful cruising boat. A bad one can be an expensive lesson. Best for someone who wants the best overall mix of size, comfort, reputation, and liveboard potential. So, which one should you choose? If you want the cheapest entry point, look at the Mainship 34 or the Marine Trader 34. If you want the classic icon, look at the Grand Banks 32. If you want practical value, look at the Albin 36 or the Iceland Gypsy 32. If you want trawler style with more speed potential, look at the Californian 34 LRC. And if you want the best all-around mix of size, comfort, and liveboard potential, the Monk 36 may be the strongest picks on this list. But here is the most important lesson. With older trawlers, the best boat is not always the best model. The best boat is the one with the cleanest survey, the healthiest engine, the best maintenance history, and the fewest expensive surprises. So do not just chase the lowest price, chase the best condition, because a well-maintained and older trawler can be a better buy than a cheaper boat with hidden problems. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 7 trawlers would you choose under $100,000? Would you pick the classic Grand Banks, the spacious Marine Trader, or the Monk 36? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. And if you want a part 2, I can cover 7 liveboard boats under $50,000. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.